You know that feeling, waking up, checking your bank account, and just hoping, praying that your Louisiana state tax refund finally dropped? Yeah, we've all been there. It can be super stressful when it takes longer than you expected. Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to break down exactly how to track your Louisiana state tax refund and get you the answers you need. We're diving directly into the state's data and protocols to completely demystify this entire process, save you some time, and hopefully give you a little peace of mind. If you're tuning into this, you are probably asking yourself this exact question. Where is the money, right? It's your cash. State tax refunds are essentially just a return of an overpayment of taxes that you made throughout the year. And it's incredibly important because, let's be real, that money goes towards bills, savings, or just a well-deserved night out. But there's this huge misconception that the second you hit submit on your tax software, the state just magically cuts a check. In reality, it doesn't work that way. There is a whole journey your return takes from filing to payout. So let's explore that journey. So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to cover the standard waiting game, how to actually track your cash, why delays happen, some pro tips for faster processing, and exactly when you need to finally reach out for help.
All right, first up, the waiting game and setting some realistic expectations for your money.
Okay, the very first thing we need to establish is the baseline. What does the Louisiana Department of Revenue consider a standard waiting period? Well, it absolutely depends on how you filed. E-filing, the state says to allow up to 4 weeks for processing. But if you did a paper return, you gotta double that. Allow up to 8 weeks. Why the massive difference? Because paper returns mean an actual human being has to sit there and manually type your data into the system. E-filing skips that manual entry entirely, literally saving you a whole month of waiting. So if you're only on week 2 of waiting for an e-filed return, take a deep breath. You are still well within the normal processing window.
Moving rights along. Let's talk about how to actually track it step by step.
The great news here is that taking control of tracking your own money is incredibly easy. And no, you don't even have to wait on hold listening to elevator music. It's just a simple 3-step process you can do 24/7 from your computer or your phone. First, just gather your tax info. Second, head over to the official Louisiana Department of Revenue website. And third, plug your details into their specific Where's My Refund portal. Quick aside here, make sure you use the state-specific tracker. The IRS tool you might be used to, that only shows federal refunds, not your Louisiana state money. Now, before you open up that tracker, make sure you have these 4 specific pieces of data ready to go. You'll need your social security number, the tax year you're checking on, your filing status, and, this is absolutely crucial, the exact refund amount requested. Why is the system so picky? Because it requires exact matches to pull your file. It's a security measure to ensure only you can see the status of your money. If you try to guess the refund amount and you're off by even a nickel, the tracker is just going to tell you it can't find your return. So you actually have 4 official channels to check your status. The online Where's My Refund portal is definitely the easiest. Then there's LawTap, that's the Louisiana Taxpayer Access Point, which is a secure portal you can register for to view notices and account history. You can also call their automated phone line. Now, all 3 of those automated channels pull directly from the state tax database and operate 24/7. If you absolutely must speak to a human, the general support line is available during business hours, but as we'll see in a second, you really want to try those automated tools first. Okay, so what happens when things go wrong? Let's talk about why it gets delayed and understand the manual review process. Look, sometimes you do everything perfectly right, and your return still hits a snag and gets pulled from the automated queue. But rather than seeing a manual review as a punishment, think of it as a protective security checkpoint. Algorithms scan incoming returns, and if something looks even a tiny bit off, the system places an administrative hold on it. This is primarily to verify information. It's literally the state's way of verifying that some scammer isn't out there stealing your refund. But yeah, there is a serious downside. If your return gets selected for this additional review, your processing timeline is unfortunately extended up to a maximum of 16 weeks. 16! That is a massive jump from the standard 4 weeks, which is exactly why it's so incredibly important to file carefully and avoid triggering this hold if you can. So what actually triggers that dreaded 16-week delay? Mostly, it's things like random identity verification audits, simple math errors, or missing info. Your refund might also be delayed if it's subject to an offset. That's when the state withholds your money to pay for things like defaulted student loans or unpaid child support.
And here is a massive one: filing a duplicate or amended return. This perfectly highlights why you should never ever try to file a second duplicate return just because your first one is taking a long time. Filing a second return throws a giant red flag into the system, freezes everything, and forces an auditor to manually reconcile the whole mess.
All right, let's pivot to some good news. Here are some actionable tips for faster processing to ensure a smooth return next time.
Now that we know what bogs the system down, how do we speed it up? The absolute fastest combination in Louisiana is this: e-file with direct deposit. Direct deposit gets the money into your account days faster than waiting for the post office. Also, file early. The state gets slammed with returns between late January and April 15th. If you file in January, you beat the rush. You aren't competing with millions of other taxpayers. And again, double-check that math. And remember our golden rule: never file a duplicate return.
Okay, but what if you've done everything right and you're still waiting? Let's cover when and who to call. If you've waited well past the standard timelines, it might be time to take action. But you need to know a vital secret. Calling the Louisiana Department of Revenue is not going to magically expedite your queue position. The customer service agents are looking at the exact same computer screens you are online. So the absolute first thing you should do before picking up the phone is log into your secure LawTap account online. Check if the state has issued any digital notices or letters requesting more info from you. If you do check LawTap and see a complication, jump on it fast. For instance, if you get a notice for an identity verification quiz, you must respond within 30 days, or your refund could be frozen for several months. And here's kind of a wild, but totally possible scenario. What if the state makes a mistake and issues you a duplicate refund? If you get an overpayment, do not spend it. But also, do not instruct your bank to reject it. The state is already communicating with the banks. Just hold tight, wait for the LDR to mail you specific repayment instructions, and you'll have 30 days to return the money once you get that letter.
Let's say you're completely stuck. You've answered the notices, you've waited months, and it's just crickets. You actually aren't out of options. You can escalate your case directly to the Louisiana Taxpayer Ombudsman. This is an independent office currently led by Chrissy Thomas, and they specifically investigate systemic bottlenecks. If your case is stalled out in the normal channels, you can reach out to them directly via email. They'll coordinate across different departments to finally get your issue resolved.
Now, as we wrap up this explainer, I do have to remind you that everything we talked about today is strictly for educational purposes. Taxes are basically a giant puzzle, and everyone's financial situation is wonderfully unique. So please always talk to a certified tax professional for personalized advice tailored just to you.
So, I'm super curious. Have any of you ever been caught in that 16-week manual review trap? Or maybe you've had to navigate the LawTap system yourself. Drop a comment down below. Let's share some strategies that actually worked for you. Ultimately, while these reviews are designed to protect us, it really makes you wonder. In an age of instant digital transactions, are our state tax systems fundamentally outdated? Until they catch up, understanding the current rules is your best defense. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and here's to a fast, smooth tax refund season.